Welcome to the Life Is podcast, where creativity, culture, mindset, and intentional living come together through real conversation. I'm your host, Corey Brown. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, travelers, and visionaries who didn't stumble into a life they love, they built it. We go deep into how they think, how they reconstructed themselves, and what became possible on the other side. This is not just about what people have accomplished. It's about the internal work that made it sustainable. Because when you build from the inside out, life expands. Let's get into it. This week, I'm sitting down with two people who decided that the conventional version of a good life was not the version they wanted, and they built something entirely their own. Kenny Smith comes from a construction background, has written for Winnebago, worked their events and shows, and published a children's book, because why not? His wife Sabrina is a physician who kept her license active and takes locum tenens assignments at hospitals as they travel, so her career literally moves with them. Together, they spent 2 years preparing, researching, budgeting, and building the infrastructure for a full-time RV life. And then they left. What Kenny and Sabrina figured out is that the life most people dream about is actually buildable. It just requires more preparation, more courage than most people are willing to give it. Here's what that construction actually looked like. All right. Well, hey, good afternoon, Kenny and Sabrina. I appreciate you guys coming on the show on the Life Is podcast, which is hosted by myself. And I'm really excited to get into you guys' story, what you guys do, your background, and just the value that you guys are bringing, but also the life that you created, right? As that's the whole kind of premise here is the architecture, the internal coherence that you guys have built. But before I do that, for our listeners, because you guys do travel, right? You guys are in your RV, and we'll get into that with Winnebago. Where are you guys at now? I guess, what does your outside window look like in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so currently we're actually at our home base in Arizona. It's a very ridiculously crazy windy day. We wanted to record from the RV just for like a little bit better ambiance, but it's so windy it'd be tough to really hear us. So today's Arizona, and like I said, Arizona is our home base. We spent a lot of time here in Arizona. We traveled in our Winnebago for 5 years, kind of looking for a home base. And we kind of chose Arizona as a low humidity, nice weather, nice people type of area.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Arizona is, like you said earlier, all nice weather all year round.
Yeah, and it's very different depending on where you are. Elevation, you have Flagstaff that's 7,000 feet, and you get the tall trees and cooler weather. Then you can be down in the Phoenix where it's like, blistering hot. But the climate changes a lot, and you don't expect to see. We have lakes, and people just think of Arizona as just pure desert. But yeah, we have like Lake Havasu, and it's I don't know, it's my favorite state.
That's how we ended up here.
That's how we ended up here because it was my favorite state. We were somewhere that had no humidity, or at least I was.
Yeah, that was your one requirement when I said, "Oh, where would you like to put a home base?" And he's like, "No humidity, wherever that is."
Yep. I don't blame that. I'm more of a camp, like I said, no snow. So if it's warm weather all around, I'm all for it.
But in the next couple months, we do have plans to travel out to Oregon, Colorado. Sabrina will be in Wisconsin, and also Toronto. And that's all within like the next 4 or 5 months. So we, like you said, we are on the move a lot.
Good. I appreciate it. I want to kind of set the stage there, if you will, for our viewers and those who are listening, kind of where you guys are at. And before we do get into your guys' story, right? Sabrina being a physician, you come from a construction background, you wrote a children's book. Obviously, you guys are traveling in RV or Winnebago. I want to give you guys time, right? Give you guys a moment to kind of set the stage in the sense of like, how did you guys meet? How did you guys get to this point before we dive into your guys' story?
Yeah, sure. So I'll let Sabrina talk about how we met.
So I always say the real story or the story we tell people. So we actually met online on Craigslist, and this was about 3 months after the Craigslist killer, and we're still here locally. I had just moved to Philadelphia for residency to start my residency. And I was bored. I was there for about a month and I was like, I'm not dating anybody. I'm not doing anything. And so I went online and Kenny had a post there. And so we chatted for about 10 minutes and then agreed to meet at a casino, which was 10 minutes from my house. But I found out later it was an hour from his. I didn't realize that. So
that pretty much sets up our compromise from then all the way on now. Our compromise 10 minutes to an hour, I feel like is a very good way to picture our compromising.
I think so. It's Sabrina's way.
Yeah. That's the kind of 90-10 it sounds like. She was close
Yeah.
to the car. And jokingly, I was like, the photo must have been good, right? You said Craigslist. You're like, hey, good looking guy, and kept
It
it
was
going.
a good photo. I was like, wow, he's really cute. And then he said, could you send me a photo? And I was like, I don't know you.
You're like,
I
yeah.
didn't even have a photo to go by. And then we met at this dark parking lot in Philly around 11 o'clock at night. But, all that worked out okay. And we went inside the casino and spent a couple hours in the casino. Actually, and then
Until morning. It's
yeah.
probably like 11 till like 6 a.m. We were in the casino.
And then we went to a diner. From the casino, we went to a diner. So it was like a very long first date.
And I thought, I'm doing all the no's. I am meeting a stranger. And instead of in the casino, in the parking lot. Now I'm getting into this stranger's car. Nobody even knows where I am. Nobody knows who I'm with. Nobody's in this state with me. I was like, these are all the no's they've taught you about all your life not to do.
All the red flags, right? You're in one of those movies, right? Like, I shouldn't
Right.
be. I shouldn't be.
It's part of like a 2020 special on what happened.
Yeah.
So, but we're still here.
Well, great.
Yeah,
Like I said, I appreciate that. It's good to for our viewers, even myself, right? Kind of lay the land of like how you guys met, because I think it's great to do what you guys have, and this is really the first 2-person podcast we've had on the Life Is podcast.
Cool.
So this would be great to kind of give that dynamic kind of back and forth of both personalities, but also one at the same time. So it's great.
Yeah. And
so as we move forward, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that kind of signals too, just the fact that we're both a little crazy.
Yeah.
Adventurous. I prefer the word adventurous.
As we move forward too, for our viewers, right? Just for kind of get you guys going here, for everyone just meeting you guys on the podcast, you can tell listeners, who you both are, where you guys, what life looks like right now, and what's brought you guys up to this point now to where you guys are at.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So going back to where we met, so we met in Philadelphia, and I was doing my residency program after graduating from medical school.
Yep.
Penny was working in construction at the time. And about a few years after, so I was finishing residency, I'd been there for 3 years. And I said to him, hey, I know you've had your job for 12 years and you're a supervisor at the company, but I want to go do a fellowship. And he was like, what is that? And what's the purpose of that?
Right.
And I tried to explain, oh, it's extra training for a specialty. And I'd like to focus on the ICU and lungs. And so he agreed. He agreed. And we picked up and moved to Virginia. So pretty used to moving and kind of going all over the place. And then once we got to Virginia, he started a vending company there. And after 5 years of that, I was like, hey, so I know this has been great and you're finally making a profit now, but I'm kind of done with Virginia. So where can we go next? And we were realizing that when I had finished my fellowship and even after my fellowship, we really didn't have much time to spend together. So he had his business. I was working a ton of hours every week, and I thought that after fellowship, things would get, in quotes, better, where I'd have more free time, we'd be able to spend more time together. But it actually got a little bit of work. It actually got a little bit worse with extra responsibility, extra time needed, and we realized we weren't really seeing each other anymore. So that kind of set us onto a path of what could we do together that would give us more time to spend together, but then also be a little bit different than our normal life. So we went to where all good ideas come from, YouTube, and how we started doing different things than what we were doing.
Yeah, we were hardly seeing each other when she was working like full time at the hospital. The hours are incredibly long. Easily 12 hours is the minimum, sometimes even more, plus weekends. So in a 7-day period, we were only seeing each other a few hours a week. And it really sucked, especially because we were newlyweds at that time. So, we wanted to spend more time together, and it just wasn't happening. We just felt like we got married, we were living together and hardly saw each other. And we were like, this just honestly sucks. Like there has to be something that we can do to make a couple changes to this. And like Sabrina said, we we turned to YouTube to see what other life styles, I guess. Yes, that to be the best word for it is like what type of lifestyles are out there that maybe we could adapt, or is there a way to manage our time better? Like, we were okay with even making like little changes if it meant making things better for us. And then Sabrina had found what was called locum work, and that would allow her to leave her full-time job and start working almost like a temp, I guess you could say, that she would kind of
Yeah.
fly into a hospital and maybe just work a few days there or or a week, and then fly back home to Virginia. And one that was better as far as lifestyle went for you and workload, and it gave you a little bit more control over, how long you were out for, how long you were
Right.
able to spend home. So that was better in that sense, and we got to see each other more, but um, not a whole lot more because you had to factor in travel time to leave and to come back.
Yeah.
So we saw these people on YouTube living in RVs and traveling together, and we were wondering, like, oh, maybe that's something that we could do. Maybe I could drive you from hospital to hospital. That that would give us more time together. You could go do the work, and at the time, I thought maybe I could do something called work camping, where Sabrina
Mhm.
could work at the hospital and I would work at the campground. I have as you mentioned or Sabrina mentioned, I have a construction background. I'm pretty good with my hands. I thought, well, I could probably do work at these campgrounds. There's such a thing called work camping. But
Mm.
it turned out that it didn't work out the way we envisioned, in the sense I didn't realize that we really wouldn't be at the campgrounds for a longer period of time. In fact, Sabrina would sometimes only work at a hospital for 3, 4 days, and then we'd have to pick up and move to a different location. Like, she was picking jobs that were just like literally all across the country. And in an RV, it's slow moving. So, if you're working in Virginia and then you got to work in Oregon, well, that's 5 days of just traveling. So you got to
Yeah.
pack up and leave. So the work camping, unfortunately, didn't work out. But
Well,
sorry.
no, I was saying it sounds like you guys were busy. I mean, you were trying to find this middle ground
Yeah.
between both jobs and careers, and just obviously want to see each other, have a benefit, have a better life, and something where you're together, right? Which is really the main thing. It sounds like. I do want to kind of slow down here a second in this section because, as Sabrina you mentioned, right, Kenny, you have a construction background.
Mhm.
So I want to kind of take it back, if you can kind of tell the viewers, like, what did that world look like, and what did it give you in terms of how you see, building systems and doing work with your hands? As I know that is going to relate kind of to the RV world that you're in now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I was in construction for 13 years. I've
Yeah.
always loved working with my hands. Before construction, I went to school for computer science, and I worked at companies. We built surface mount machinery. And if, for anybody listening, that's pretty much machines that take a green board that's inside your computers or
Yep.
whatnot and place the chips onto the board. So, I mean, for as long as I can remember, I've always enjoyed working with my hands. I'd rather be outside working on something than sitting behind a desk. It drives me nuts to sit down. I don't even like sitting.
It's true. Sometimes they'll eat dinner standing up. It's true.
I
Right on
just
the
like
tell.
I've always liked to be active. I've always liked building things. I like creating things. And even if I'm not creating something with my hands, I like creating. We had started a YouTube channel. I like just being
Mhm.
creative in any form is what I've found out throughout the years, and that translated to the RV too, because because of my background in construction and working with my hands, Sabrina
Yep.
actually had a good idea that I go to school for RVing, and in the sense that you can go to school and become like an RV inspector. And that was an idea that we had too, that maybe I could become a RV inspector on the road too. But again, because
Mhm.
we move so often, it was so difficult to get the timing right to actually meet somebody to inspect our RV. But what we learned is, after that school, I learned so much about RVing, the
Yes.
systems that are involved in the RV. It really helped us in the fact that I could really maintain the RV while we were moving so much. Like, it was very important that our RV stayed in tip top shape to make sure that we made it to each
Mhm.
location, because we were putting on so many, we were doing 20, 30,000 miles a year on the RV. So it really had to stay in the best shape possible. And I feel like all that background of working with my hands, from the computer side of things onto like the physical, just like window glass and caulking
Yeah.
and structural, keeping things like structurally sound as well, has really come in handy through the years, more
Yeah.
than you would probably expect.
Yeah. No kidding. Like you said, you want to make sure that the RV is working, right? You're putting a
Yeah,
lot of miles on it. Things are going to happen, which you guys mentioned offline. Like, so you want to be able to, like, just fix it yourself if you can, right? Lower
absolutely.
cost. and, get back on the road, right? Get back on
Yeah.
it.
And a lot of people, or a lot of times people don't realize being able to fix something on the road or yourself, not only is going to save you money, but more so it's going to save you time. If I can fix it,
Yep.
I'm going to attack the problem right away. I'm not going to be sitting in a waiting room. A lot of times for like RV service, they want you to take the vehicle, drop it off, and pick it up at a different day.
Yeah.
And for us, that wouldn't work.
We were like, we're living in it. What, I don't know where you want us to
Yeah.
go.
It's our home. Yeah, no kidding. So also too, Sabrina, I want to come back to you as well, right?
Mhm.
So your physician, you mentioned that you were doing locum tenens, at, hospitals there in the, surrounding areas in different states. Obviously you had to kind of restructure that from your career wise.
Mhm.
How did you think about that, like structurally, and, what did it require of you to make that even possible when you guys are, thinking about doing an RV?
Okay. Yeah, so for that, I would say that I'm a big planner. I'm not really very spontaneous at all. So
Right.
usually I'm thinking of every eventuality. How is this going to work? What does this look
Yes.
like if it doesn't work out? And so for that, I actually started doing locum tenens before I left my full-time job. So I
Hmm.
started just doing it, picking up gigs here and there just to see how would this work? Is it actually something that's sustainable? Could it help support our lifestyle? And just I did it for a year before actually leaving my full-time job and giving notice just to make sure that we could actually do it because, of course, at the time, I had just finished training, so I had a house worth of student loans and no house to show
Right.
for it.
Yeah.
We had all these other expenses as far as vehicle expenses, just everybody's normal expenses, and so just trying to
Correct.
figure out if it was something that could work. I did it for a year before we actually set out and decided, "Okay, I'm gonna jump into this full time and leave the security of my full-time job and just see how it works," because it's very different getting a paycheck every 2 weeks versus if you work, you get paid, if you don't, you don't, and if nothing
Yep.
comes up, then what? And so it took a decent amount of planning to
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah, you have the right mindset. I know we've talked offline. You're more the planner. Well, I would say most women are, right? They want to make sure everything's sound, it works before you jump into anything else, right? So, getting to that mindset and easing into it, right? Gradually going into that, saying, "Hey, I can do this. I've done it for a year. I know what to expect, and this can kind of support the life that we want to get into."
Mhm.
And even in that process too, going to my next question, when was the idea of like even doing full time RV? I guess whose idea was it first? And what was that first conversation, look like? Because obviously we all know what the first time the conversation looks like compared to what it is now. It's always different. So what did that look like on your guys' end?
Yeah, it actually took us about 2 years to really pull the trigger on the RV lifestyle. We were, like I said, we were like kind of looking for different lifestyles, alternative lifestyles for us that would work for us. And we just happened to kind of stumble upon YouTube channels like We're the
Yep.
Russos and Less Junk, More Journey. And they seemed normal-ish. Like they didn't seem that crazy. And these guys were like living in an RV and traveling. And they seemed like just your typical normal Americans,
Yeah.
family and traveling. And we just happened to kind of say together, to one another, is that something that we could, that you think we could do? Could we live like neither one of us have RV experience?
I never even camped before this. Never. No
Right.
tents, no wilderness, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't like bugs. I don't like bad weather. So we were I was a little like, I guess we could do it.
Yeah, and I did have a pretty good background as far as like camping and off-roading and just being outdoorsy, start fires
Hmm.
and whatnot. And I would say that I was all in almost right away, and you were
Yep.
more reserved about the idea of this actually working. And like I said, it took us about 2 years from the idea of, hey, look at these guys, making this happen. I think we could too. It took us 2 years from that point of like we love the research of
Yep.
researching like really what does this entail? Like one, I got to give up my business. You're
Yep.
you're going to quit your
Independent contractor.
yeah, become an independent because at the time you weren't yet.
No.
So you would have had to quit your full-time position at the hospital. So it was a huge, I mean, just huge decision. But we do a pretty good job. We don't argue too much. We're good at like listing the pros and the cons of everything. And that compromise of 90-10.
Works out well. It makes
Right.
it
Right. Right.
We had to make sure, I would say, that the lifestyle was going to fit Sabrina's work schedule and her her vision more than mine. I would say I'm way more flexible. I feel as
Right.
if I can make almost anything kind of work. You don't like making things
I was going
work.
to say, I'm not really, I don't want to say not great at compromising, but I really like my way.
Yes.
And I really like things to go the way they're supposed to. So I guess we'll come to that eventually later, but I like things to go the way they're supposed to. So it really was, okay, if we do this, thinking of eventualities, are we giving it 6 months? Are we giving it a year? How are we gonna jump into this? How are we gonna test this to see if it's something that's even feasible? And so we
Correct.
decided to rent an RV first, and we did that for a weekend just to see and went with a friend, and the 3 of us went, and it was a disaster. It was an
Yeah.
absolute
Yes.
disaster. But we had an awesome time. We never have laughed that much in one weekend or ever, and we were like, "Yeah, I think this will be good."
Because
Yeah.
the rental itself had a lot of issues. The experience was fun, but the jacks didn't work. We found blood in the sink of the
Oh,
bathroom. There was mold in the refrigerator. Every time you used the shower,
It was
it would
leaking through. It was
flood.
bad.
It would flood the inside of the RV. So it was a tough weekend as far as like the equipment that we had. And that's when we discovered like, oh, it really matters like what RV you
Mhm.
have. And
uh-huh.
how well you're going to maintain it. Like that's going to be a very important thing on the road is like, um, is the vehicle itself. And even I remember when shopping, like when we would shop for an RV and we would walk through it, if one of us would say, oh, we could probably make this vehicle work, it automatically got scratched
Mhm.
off the list because we knew just from that one weekend, all right, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. We can't be making too many compromises. We can't go into something and say, oh, we can make this work. It's gotta work. Like it just
Yes.
has to work.
Right, 'cause it's I mean, it's one thing if I was doing another job, but I have to be where I'm supposed to be. It's not like there are people that will cover for me because you're going to this hospital because they're short on staff, and
Yes.
so they're expecting you to be there at a certain time. I can't be in the middle of nowhere broken down on the side of the road.
Yeah, but I mean,
So,
even like floor plan wise,
yeah,
like
that
we
too.
we knew, all right, well, we need a solid door for a bedroom because she might be working night shifts and
Mm.
I won't be. So we need to be able to have separated living space in an RV, and that's I mean, that's kind of difficult. Privacy and RVing doesn't usually
Mhm.
go together.
Yeah.
So we want it to be as small as we could get in the RV, but still be very comfortable. And like I said, that term, oh, we could make this work. That was, if we said that in a vehicle, that was it. It was off the list.
Yes. Yes. And it's good too. Like even just kind of a side, thinking is like it's good for people to listen, right? That there's nuances, right? Like you think you get a brand new RV, like things are gonna be great, but things are gonna happen, right? Just like what
Mhm.
you expect and what actually happens reality that you need to be prepared for. I think as you guys mentioned offline, like mentally, emotionally, that working in that dynamic together to make sure we can get back on track. We understand what's going to happen and we're prepared for it. So
Yeah.
it's not catastrophic.
Yeah.
When you guys also too, when you guys made the decision, like, hey, we're going to do this thing, right? We're going to go all in. We're going to become an RV. Like, what was the I don't know, maybe feedback or your family and friends around you? How was that when you told them like, hey, we're going to leave and go live in an RV? Like, how did you hold your direction when the external reaction was like, a lot of doubt and concern, I'm sure.
Unfortunately, we had almost zero support on it.
Mm,
Everybody, friends, family, everybody hated, just absolutely hated the idea of us getting into an RV, to the point that some family almost like kind of shamed us, I
Oh
think.
my gosh, it was funny.
really?
My mom was even like, "You went to school for 15 years to live in a trailer?" She was not impressed, and
Yeah, you get
even
that.
throughout our whole RVing experience, she would tell people, "Oh, yes, my daughter's in an RV. They're traveling the country to see where they'd like to be eventually." That was not
Well,
what
wow.
was actually happening,
Yeah, I know how it
but it
started.
was it was embarrassing for her.
Yeah, and then my family felt I believe my family felt almost betrayed in the sense
Mhm,
that, we had already have picked up from Philly and moved to
Mhm.
Virginia. So that was already a pretty far distance for my family as
Yeah,
far as how they felt that they weren't seeing me enough. And they were very afraid. Well, once you get in this RV and you start traveling, now you're in California and Oregon and Colorado and you're on the West Coast. Well, now we'll never type kind of see you. And then of course there's safety. Like
mhm.
everybody was
yeah.
kind of afraid for us to be out on the road. Like I mentioned earlier, we didn't have any RV experience. So they were just like, you guys are, I think they really just thought we were crazy, like literally
Right.
insane to want to like pick up and just travel the country and the Canada and Mexico in a vehicle and live in this vehicle. We sold everything we owned. We didn't even put anything in storage. So we had like
Oh,
everything
geez.
we owned was in 28 feet. And they were like, this is insane. You guys got to stop and think about what you're doing
Mhm.
because this is insane. And but we did stop and
We
think for
thought
2 years
for a
before
while. We
that. We
Yeah,
thought
you
really
guys
put
were prepared.
a lot of thought into it. But yeah, we had very little to unfortunately no support
and
in this.
safety was also a big concern, not just road and traffic safety, but also you guys are an interracial couple. You're going to be traveling
Yeah,
to rural areas around the country. Are you sure it's going to be safe to be in these places by yourself? No one around. You don't know where you are. Is it going to be safe? And so we had a lot of
correct.
concern from that standpoint too when we were starting out.
And to be honest, you don't know. Like you really, I mean,
Till
we
you
didn't.
get yeah, till you get into it.
Yeah, we didn't have a firm. We couldn't say to them it's 100% safe. Like we had no proof that it was going to be safe for us. So looking back, we see their side of things better now than we did in the moment. I would say,
Yeah.
but we went anyway.
Yeah, you're like, we're going. And I always think it's unfortunate because to your point, your parents, right, they love you, your friends love you, but they can very much project their fears onto you
Mhm.
Oh
and
yeah.
be upset to your point. Like, your family felt like they're losing out on you
Mhm.
because you're leaving us, right? Where it's like, no, I'm not leaving. We're gonna do our own thing, right? We're adults. We want to go explore, and this is something we want to decide on. So it can definitely be discouraging when people you love don't support or the idea that you want to do. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you guys are, look, we made our mind up, right?
Yeah.
Sabrina planned, so there was no going back,
We're
right?
good.
We
We're good to go.
Yeah, I feel ever since Sabrina and I have met and the things that we do, we will listen to people's advice, but it's rare that we take it.
I
It seems
agree.
like
I
we
agree.
always do our own thing and do what we feel we want to do for ourselves.
yeah,
And and I
we
do
should.
feel I do feel like fear does keep you safe to a
Mhm.
point. Like fear is what keeps us from hurting ourselves. But at the same time, I feel like fear is can be very damaging and fear can really stop you from doing something that's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
And
Kinda
I feel
blinds you.
like along those lines, even now to this day, we have those conversations. Like, if we want to do something and we're a little hesitant or we're doubting, we usually have this conversation like, have we ever let what other people thought we should or shouldn't do affect what we do? And we're like, no.
Mm,
And how has that worked out? Just
pretty
fine.
Just
It's
fine.
been
Yeah, you
great.
figure it out.
And so then we'll regroup and be like, let's do it. Give it a shot. If something doesn't work, you can always pivot. You can always change. You've learned something. It's not a failure. It's just a learning experience.
Mhm.
And so,
And that's a great mindset. Literally, that's perfect. You pivot, and it's a learning experience. Like, you keep moving. So,
Yeah.
I love that mindset. So I want to kind of move forward because this is really kind of the heart, I think, for most people are trying to figure out like, okay, what does this really look like, right? We kind of briefly talked about the research, and that's where we're kind of going to lead to now. But you spent 2 years before you left, right? You said YouTube University, RV forums, a trial, right? Sounds like a trial that
Yeah.
wasn't the best for an RV, but you did an RV inspection school as well. And then I believe is it YNAB budgeting? Is that the
YNAB, yes, yes, the
why
budgeting
not? Okay,
program.
so the budgeting and then a 6-month emergency fund that you guys kind of,
Yes.
built. Can you kind
Mhm.
of walk me through that process? Like, what did that preparation, actually look like day to day?
Yeah. So uh, we knew that we were going to leave our apartment. We're leaving a lot of stuff behind. We were going to drop two vehicles, I think we dropped. So we
Right.
got rid of two cars.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that one of our cars was able to be towed behind the RV, that it just happened to work that way. So we would be able to bring the car with us. We did build up that 6-month
Mhm.
emergency fund. Our plan was, all right, we're going to try it for 6 months to a year to make sure that this is even viable for us, that we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you take it, you take it
It's
away.
all
You're
the
the planner.
So, as far as, like, the budgeting and the planning for that went, I was already using the YNAB budgeting app before that. It's a website and an app, and I was already using it to try to help with my student loan debt payoff. And so
yes.
we were already working on that before, and so then it was a matter of, okay, I know RVing can be cheaper, but is it actually gonna be cheaper for us? Because we're used to some creature comforts, and there are things that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not willing to give up. I still want unlimited things. like if I was
Yeah.
in an apartment. And so budgeting for what would campgrounds cost. So we started looking up like what the average price in certain areas for campgrounds would be, how much of that would be reimbursed from work. We started looking up as far as like student loan payments, how what our expenses would be, and just mapping out, okay, what would we need for a 6-month emergency fund? And so
Yep.
part of this 2 years was also putting money aside every month so that we could get to the point where we built that up. Kenny had a good point when I was like, no, the student loans are the priority. We want to get rid of these. He's like, can you call the student loan company back later and tell them we broke down and you need some money for the repair? No. Okay then. So let's focus on this emergency fund too.
Yep.
We can do several things. You just don't have to be as aggressive with student loan repayment. And let's try to build up the emergency fund first so that we have that safety net in case something goes wrong. And so that's how I kind of organized the categories for this. And then we were thinking of, okay, what would the price difference between our lifestyle now and RVing be? And we thought, okay, it's probably going to be about the same to a little bit more because obviously, if you're getting 9 miles a gallon in gas, it's going to
Yeah.
cost you money to get places. And even with my work, they'll reimburse some of the travel expenses at like IRS rates,
Oh, yeah.
but up to a flight. They're not gonna reimburse you to go halfway across the country when they could have flown you for $350.
Right.
So keeping that into account was also something that we had to think of. And so we did all of that and then decided, okay, I think we're ready. I think we can do this.
Yeah, it's like Sabrina said, some people move into an RV and it's cheaper, and some move into an RV and it's more expensive. Our cost was a little bit more than what we were doing. It wasn't astronomical. And I would say the big deciding factor is that the more you move, the more expensive RVing becomes. The
Yep.
more stationary you can be, the cheaper. Because once you're in an area for a longer period of time, you can get monthly rates. You can even get a 6 month rate at a campground or a yearly rate, and that becomes
Nice.
a lot more economically better for you. The more you move, now you're only doing nightly rates, and that's going to be
More.
more expensive. Also, there were things that we had to think about as far as like getting our mail. Where would our actual
Oh,
home
yeah.
address be? Because we didn't have a home anymore. And luckily, there are companies out there. We used a company called Escapees, and we made Florida our home state. The advantage of being able to pick anywhere is that
Mm.
Florida has no state tax. It has no property tax on vehicles. Their health care was very good, that you could use the healthcare anywhere at the time. You could use it anywhere in the United States, where most healthcare, say Arizona's your home base, your primary medical care physician has to be in Arizona. Florida
Mm.
didn't care who you saw.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so that it was a very flexible rate, and there's some things that maybe people don't think about
Mhm.
when moving. Like you are changing almost everything in your life.
Your lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, car insurance, where things are registered, your health care,
Mhm.
your mail, just like everything.
Yeah, and you look real sketch for a while. So what happens is you'll be in another state or you need a form notarized or something and you go to a bank and then they're
You're
like, "But
like,
wait, your mailing address is this and your home address is that and you're in 6 states over," and you just always are answering questions wrong and you look very sketch most of the
Yeah.
time.
It sometimes works in your advantage though. I remember being in a Walmart one time and they had somebody in the Walmart trying to sell you like home internet and cable. And the guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey, who do you use for your home internet?" I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. At the moment, I'm homeless. I'm just living in my RV." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I even asked you."
yeah, yeah, right. I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
That's wild. And two, I agree. I think just those things to think about, most people don't think about, right? Like you said,
Mhm.
healthcare, if it's, seeing a doctor, dentist appointments, right? Your
Mhm.
mail, um,
Prescriptions, where do you get them from?
yeah,
Ah,
prescriptions, yeah, how, what do you, and I think that's really important. I think for those who are listening is like, what do I really need to look at? Do
Mhm.
you guys, and this is kind of off topic, do you guys teach other people, other couples to do the same thing?
Not per se. We get a
not
lot of,
formally.
not formally.
Okay. I was just curious. I didn't know if that was,
We're on social media, so people will write to us, email us, and then we'll do phone calls with people. If they have questions and they want to do this lifestyle, if they want to email us, there's been times that I've spent, you say sometimes too long, but
I'm
you
like,
know,
"Turn it into a business." No.
you know,
right,
co-
right.
kind of not coaching people, but just advising people. Yeah. So I've had several emails, even phone calls. I'm usually okay with giving somebody my phone number if they got questions along the way that they can ask us. One of the things we didn't mention is emergencies, like an emergency on the road, not just vehicle wise, but health wise
Oh
for
yeah,
us.
I actually had one of
You
those.
have
I did
one?
have one.
Emergencies with our dog. She ate a bee one time, and
Anaphylaxis.
we had to quickly find a vet nearby that was 24 hours because you're always in an area that you're not familiar with. So these are things too. We're not trying to scare anybody, but it's not all glamorous to be traveling this way. And I think it's very easy to, like, what would the word be?
Get
Like
caught up in the hype.
romanticize. Really romanticize the lifestyle that, oh, you guys are in the mountains and you're on the beaches and you're going to Mexico. But there's a lot to it that can go wrong also.
And I appreciate that. I guess this section was really kind of the big part. I wanted people to kind of just hear from you guys of like all the things you may want to think about, right, before you kind of dive into this, and your own process of what that looked like before you went, full time into it, which is important.
And
So
there is a
go ahead.
safety. Sorry, yeah, there is a safety aspect to it too. Like Sabrina said, and anybody watching us, you can obviously see that we are an interracial couple. Some of the things that we do as an interracial couple are probably different than what other people do. Every campground that we go to, Coy, and this is just the way it is. I make sure that Sabrina is the one that goes into the office and checks us in, just so that campground knows that there is a Black female staying at their campground, because for whatever reason, we don't see a lot of people like us at all. And even less so, less, and that's not just Black, but Hispanic, Asian. It's mostly white America, pretty much at all the campgrounds. And that's just the way it is. So yeah, like we do little things like that. Like Sabrina is the one that always checks into the campground so that they know that she is on their property that we have to think about. And this doesn't just go for us, but it also goes for, there's a lot of like solo female travelers that are out there that also have to be very careful while traveling. The good news is, though, that Sabrina and I have never, ever in 180,000 miles, over 180,000 miles now, have never ran into any issues. Nobody has ever given us a hard time. Nobody has given us funny looks. I would say it's actually been the exact opposite. People always come up to us and they're very curious.
Like, who are you? How are you here? Are you retired? Curious than anything. And they're like, where are you from? I was in a Walmart in some city somewhere, and the lady was like, sweetheart, you don't look like you're from around here. And I was like, ma'am, I'm not. And she was like, are you going to the university? I'm like, I'm glad that's what you thought. That's wonderful. But
and we do have a rule too. Like Sabrina and I sleep at a lot of sketchy places that we do not recommend.
Keeping the theme.
So we sleep at a lot of gas stations, a lot of casino parking lots, just abandoned parking lots, out in the desert alone. We have a rule that if either one of us has a bad feeling about anywhere, you just pick up and you go.
Move on.
And it's happened. We've stayed at Walmarts and we're like, okay, this doesn't seem right for us. Let's move. We've stayed at like a Flying J gas station, which we've stayed at thousands of them. And we'll still say, though, maybe this particular one just has a bad aura about it. We'll move on and we can sleep at a rest area down the road, or we'll find somewhere else to park on the side of the street and sleep for the night.
Just trust your gut.
Just trust your gut. Yeah,
absolutely. And I want to give appreciation to you guys of being intentional, right? Of having Sabrina go in there and making that, because you're right. A lot of it is, white America. I even have another guest coming on who's in the RV world, and, most Blacks, Asians, Hispanics don't camp that much, right? So they're not really targeted, which is, we're going to see a turn probably when it comes to demographics in the near future because of that, right? So trying to get those folks out there camping and making that normal, because I'm sure it probably gets old when you talk to couples and you're used to it, but it's like one of those things where it's like,
it's not amazing being the only, like anywhere you go. That's not great. And I know Kenny doesn't really have that experience. And he's always like, they're just staring because you're tall.
She is 6 feet. She is 6 feet tall.
That's a good joke. Yeah.
Tall. But there's times where we'll go to some rural campgrounds where he's going to take his Jeep out. And when he's gone out in his Jeep, a lot of times I'll stay back at the RV doing other things. And if I come out of the RV, I want people to know that I'm there. And it's
Yeah.
just, I don't have to explain myself if they've already seen me and know that I'm at the campground and everything like that, versus me just wandering around the campground and everybody's like, who's that?
Who's,
What is she
yeah.
doing there? Who is she?
Yeah.
So
Well, good. Speaking of the trial, I know we already talked about it briefly, but you guys obviously rented an RV. What did it, that difficult weekend teach you? And why did that difficulty confirm the decision to go with this rather than, reverse or push you guys back of like, oh, we don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah, I think there was it was at least two things that I can think of, and you might have more. Is one, we stayed at a campground called Wind Rock, and the Wind Rock campground also rents out like side by side off-road vehicles. So it
Yeah.
was just fun weekend. Like you park your vehicle, you park your RV right on their property, and then you rent this side by side for the weekend and you bring it back to your RV like you own it for that weekend. It was an extended weekend. So we had like 3 days. And it was just cool to kind of like come out of our place, uh, make food outside and grill, hop in the side by sides, go hit the trails, come back. We'd have our campfire at night. It was just a lot of fun. The experience itself and the people around us were very welcoming. They were very friendly. They came over and saw that we were a young couple, and they were like, they knew it was a rental, and they asked if we needed help. Like that doesn't happen at. Nobody has ever came up to me at like a hotel and said, "Oh, do you need help with your that help with your luggage?" That didn't work for the hotel. Like these were just other guests coming over to us and saying, "Hey, do you guys need a hand with anything? Everything, you doing
Good.
okay?"
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
we were like, "Wow, what are these people doing? Like, aren't they on vacation and want to like kind of do whatever they're doing? Like, why
What
are
you're
they
doing,
taking
yeah.
time? Yeah, why are they taking time out of their vacation to come over to see if we need help?" So I thought that was nice. Also, the RV did have issues, like we have mentioned, and we were able to fix some of those issues, and I felt very accomplished. Like I was like, oh, you know what, this didn't work when we picked it up and got here, but now it is working, and we did that, we fixed that, and I thought that was pretty cool too.
Get some satisfaction behind it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I kind
I
of
was,
felt like we got to spend some decent time together, and we were there with a friend, and we just had an amazing time. There were lots of laughs, lots of stories. We just
yes.
spent like really good quality
quality,
time together. And I really enjoyed that. And then actually seeing him being able to manage things that were going wrong, I was like, okay, this could work then. If he can figure these things out on the fly, this is something that could
Mhm.
work while we're actually in ours. And it also made us think, all right, so what are the specific things we need to make sure of in an RV that we're purchasing so that we can try to help avoid some of these things as much as possible. And so I think those were the things that we kind of thought about when we finished the weekend, that this was fun. This was great. Let's
yeah.
give it a shot.
We had great quality time that weekend, which is something that we just weren't getting normally anymore.
And
So
that's even with a friend with us. We
yeah,
had a great time.
Right. Right.
Awesome. It was awesome.
Good. And also too, I want to briefly talk about it because we already kind of touched on it, but your RV inspection, right? You went there for 2 weeks. You got that knocked out, Kenny. I guess in what areas maybe you can kind of define, like what did that training kind of give you practically? I know it kind of helped on the maintenance side, of course, but what did that kind of give you practically? Um, and maybe what did it change about how you felt going into this, RV life?
yeah. So the thing I think it helped the most with is identifying problems while they were still small enough to tackle, and not
Yes.
letting things spiral to bigger problems that would have forced us into a service center. Like, just how things are supposed to sound, even um, the way that something is working or not working. Like, it helped me recognize a system that is failing before it actually absolutely failed. I think that was the biggest thing for sure,
Mhm.
and I think it also helped me like troubleshoot and um, like kind of identify importance. Like, okay, there's a lot of systems going on in the RV.
Yeah.
What is the most important parts of it to keep us going? And then I can like almost like triage, be like, all right, well, let's make sure that this is running perfectly. And then once we stop, I can then handle, say, the water pump to make sure that
Yep.
we have like the full amount of water pressure. But at the moment, water pressure isn't the important thing. We just got to get to where we're going.
Yes. Can we get A to B and get her
Yeah.
to her? got
Yep.
her at the hospital. Going
I
back to you too.
I
Oh, go ahead,
laughed a
Sabrina.
little bit because Kenny is super in tune to noises, like rattles, squeaks. He's like that all the
Nice.
time. But especially in the RV, he's like, "What was that? What was that
Yeah,
rattle?
yeah,
What
it
was that
doesn't sound
squeak?"
normal.
And he'll hunt it down to find it and I'm like, "I don't even hear anything. It doesn't even sound that bad," but he will find it. He will find
Yeah, yeah, he's gonna fix it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love fixing things. I just always have. I was that kid playing with Legos all the time and Lincoln Logs and playing Tetris. I just love
Mhm.
piecing things together.
I wanna go also to Sabrina, back to you, right? So, obviously, you've done the locum tenens, for some time, and actually you built that infrastructure up for a year, as you talked about earlier. Um, I guess, how did you think about that preparation, which, comes into your planning aspect? And what does that, like, building that runway, before you need it, require internally, right? Before you like, "Hey, I'm gonna jump." What did that kinda tarmac, if you will, look like before you got there?
Okay, so specifically from the medicine side, I had to find several recruiting companies to work with because the
Mm,
companies don't always have the same jobs. And
okay.
so finding multiple companies to work with so that if one didn't have a job during this time frame, I would be able to have another company that would have a job.
Yep.
Also getting multiple state licenses. I started out with just 3 state licenses at least so that we could kind of bounce between 3 particular states and then kind of expanded on that as I've gone along. Actually, at one point in time, I had 18 licenses. I only
Oh,
have
wow.
11. I'm still doing locum tenens here 10 years later, but I only have 11 licenses now. So getting licenses and then also DEA registrations too, because for each state you work in, you need another DEA registration. And so I had 2 that you could move them, but sometimes they don't
Mhm.
always move quick enough if you have a job in one state in 1 week and then another state another week. So then getting 2 to 3 of those so that I would be able to move them in time to work in different states. And so figuring out that type of thing, figuring also we talked about like the health insurance piece. We're going to
Yep.
be getting health insurance off the exchange now and just marketplace because we don't have an employer anymore. So
Yep.
figuring out that piece, figuring out disability insurance, things that you would get through your job normally, life insurance and all of those things. And so figuring out what that would look like, which of these things we actually needed, wanted, could afford, and then
Mhm.
deciding to continue those or not. So all of that went into the planning as far as the jobs went, and yeah, I think that was pretty much the setup.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty, once again, a planner at heart. You were making sure everything was in a line before
Yeah.
you, did
Sorry, one
this.
other thing I was thinking, even thinking about things like, do you need an LLC? What does an LLC actually protect you
Oh,
from?
yeah.
Because you're working for yourself. You have a business now. You don't have employees, but it doesn't cover malpractice, but it covers like business liability. And so just navigating that as to whether you want to start one, whether you don't want one, which state are you going to put that in? Because you're not fixed in a state.
Yes.
And so then figuring out all of those things too went into it.
Yeah, that is important. I'm, obviously from an insurance background, so, think about all the liability risk and protecting yourself, right? Your work and what you do. You wanna make sure that, hey, if things go wrong, that, hey, you're safe, you're protected,
Yeah.
once again, a safety concern.
I'm not
Uh,
trying to really end up homeless, just
yeah,
houseless.
exactly. Almost or in jail,
Yeah.
when I shouldn't be. So, yeah, no, once again, another good perspective, I think, for those who are listening, of like, here are just other things to think about if you're in the physician world, whether it's medical or in anything else, just
Mhm.
making sure you're, looking at all aspects, beyond just your normal, budgeting, which is obviously
Right.
important. Before we keep going, if Kenny and Sabrina's story is making you wonder whether the full-time road life is actually possible for your family, they are the people to ask. Find them in the show notes, reach out directly, and mention code LifeIsPod10. The life they are living started with one decision. Yours can too.
Mhm.
We're going to kind of transition here kind of to your Winnebago, right, partnership, which is really awesome, which is kind of a big piece here throughout the podcast. Can you kind of talk about your relationship with Winnebago, right? It started, it sounds like, in 2017 at their Grand National rally.
Mhm.
Can you kind of take us to that moment? How did you connect with them? And, what was that first opportunity? And how did you kind of grow from there in that
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah. So, yeah, we got incredibly lucky, I would say. So, we bought our RV January of 2017 and then attended the Winnebago Grand National Rally in July of 2017. And we
Mm,
just went up there because a friend of ours also owned a Winnebago. And he was like, "Oh, you guys got to come out to the big rally that Winnebago puts on. I'll be up there." We at this time we never met Madame Marie in person. We had only been talking to them online. So we're like, yeah, we'd love to come up there and actually meet you guys in person. So we went to the Winnebago rally, and it's a week-long event, and they have all these little um, expos and like community events. And one of the things was a bike ride in the morning. So you didn't do the bike ride, but you did the morning like
More
exercise.
exercise.
Yeah, yeah.
And while she was exercising, she met Stephanie from the Fit RV, and I did the bike ride, and I met Stephanie at the bike ride. And she kind of put it together that we were together because we were like the youngest people there.
Yeah, she's putting together. Yeah,
The exercise session was quite mild, shall we say.
yeah.
Holding on to chairs and
know,
such.
at this time, 9 years ago, most of the clientele for RVers were in their 60s and 70s. I was only in my 40s at the time. Sabrina was in her 30s at the time. So we were like the babies of this group. Like we really stood out at this group because of just how young we were. So Stephanie was like, you guys must be together because you're the only young people here.
Yeah.
And I guess you had a chance to talk to Stephanie in the morning during the exercise, and then she was talking with me while we were biking. I just biked along next to her, and Stephanie and her husband James from the Fit RV, they had already been working with Winnebago for I think 2 or 3 years as brand ambassadors. And she said, as she was talking to us, she said, you guys are so fun and so likable. She said, would you consider working with Winnebago in some extent? I can introduce you to the marketing team. They're looking for young people that live in Winnebagos. And that was really the start of it. That was in July of 2017. And that we met the marketing team, and the marketing team was like, how about we start you out real light? Maybe you just write some articles for us. Yeah. And I remember coming back to the RV and telling Sabrina, I was like, I don't think I could write. I said, what would I don't have any schooling or background in writing. And Sabrina's like, no, you're just writing. They just want you to write about what you know, and you're writing it in English. Like
that's your first language. You can write something.
It's not that hard. You can do this.
So I put together my first article in August and submitted it by September. And I remember being so nervous about, when you write something, you feel very exposed and it's easy to be judged. And I was like, the editor had a reputation of being tough. And the editor's the one that told me that. Like, it wasn't like a rumor. The editor said, look,
you like, hey.
Yeah, he talked directly to me and said, look, I have a reputation of being tough, and that rumor is correct. I am tough. I'm going to send your piece of work that you send to me is going to have a lot of red on it. Don't be too nervous. Don't worry about it. And so I turned in my first, reluctantly, I turned in my first article in September to him. And he emailed me back and said, you know what, Kenny, this is great. I don't even have, he gave me tiny little tweaks. He's like, you're writing at a level that everybody can understand. And I was like, is he saying I write like a compliment?
Like, what a second.
Third grade level? What level is this that everybody can understand? He said, I really enjoyed your article. But I want another one from you. I was like, okay. So I wrote him another one, and he had the same exact response. He's like, no, these two are consistent. He's like, these are great articles. He said, anybody thinking about RVing or is RVing can pick this article up, read through it, understand it, and get valuable information out of it. He's like, this is fantastic. You're hired as a writer. So that was like the first thing I started doing. I started writing 2 articles a month for them. And then from there, it went to hosting like live events. And if they had a Facebook event or something like that, I would be the host for the event. And I would be like the in between, like you got your product and your product person, and then you got your consumer. I was the medium in between to kind of like relay those questions to the product planner and kind of relay the answers back in like layman's terms, I guess you could say.
Where everybody can understand.
Where everybody can understand again. Yeah.
Third grade level.
Yeah. And then it grew from that into going to shows and talking with people at the actual RV shows, where I would give them a tour of a vehicle and help them kind of, determine what what they really needed and what they wanted out of RVing, and I could kind of direct them to which Winnebago fit their lifestyle, the way they were on travel, how large their family is, what was the most important things for them to see along their travels. And that to me has been the best thing I
Mhm.
do for Winnebago is working the shows and talking with the consumers and helping them figure out what their RV life is going to be like. And then what's the other thing I do for Winnebago? I feel like I'm missing something, aren't I?
Articles, videos,
Yeah.
shows. Yeah,
That
that's
might be it. Yeah.
mhm.
Oh no, testing, product
Oh, I
testing.
forgot about that. You're
Yes.
right. You are missing something.
Man, that product testing and going to the shows are so neck and neck because product testing is a lot of fun. We get a vehicle before it hits the market, before
Yeah.
anybody sees it, and we get to test it out and then give our feedback. One of the things that Sabrina and I really enjoy is sharing our opinions
Oh,
on
yes.
things.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So we'll get a vehicle before it actually goes onto the market, maybe like 6 months before it actually is released. And we test it out for sometimes a week, 3 weeks, a month. And then we write Winnebago a report, say, hey, you know what? This is great, but light switches could be moved to a more easier location. So maybe move these light switches, outlets here, maybe a shelf here would be nice.
Yep.
Those little things. Sabrina and I try to keep budget in mind because there's RV budgets for every single person. So depending on what vehicle we're testing, like we would never say to them, all right, you got to totally,
Marble countertops.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
we
And your
gotta,
courts.
yeah. So you got to be careful, like the suggestions that you're making also have to keep within the budget of the vehicle that you're testing. So
Yep.
for the most part, we're trying to fix the usability
Yeah.
before it hits the consumer. We want it to be as user friendly as possible,
Yeah. And
and
functional.
that's been awesome. Like we know, like knowing what's coming down the line has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, because you were the ones who essentially kind of created it in a sense. You kind of gave
Yeah,
it the
Our
life.
opinion again.
given our
Yeah.
opinion, we like the fact that we feel as if we have a say in like the future of RV. Yeah,
Yep. Very much so. Yeah, that's where my mind was going as well. Like, hey, you put your stamp on this to what RVing will look like for future people who are buying. I wanted to ask you too. It's also Kenny. So you do the event tours, right? You give. I was thinking in my head, you're almost like a real estate agent for RVs.
yeah,
You're kind of telling them what to buy, what size and their lifestyle. But you've done all this stuff with Winnebago, right? Does that work? I guess how does that work feel inside? Does it feel like work, or does it barely feel like that in general? Because it's kind of like you're living this from the inside out, right? It's kind of like this genuine love of what you're doing.
yeah. It's a tricky question for me, and Sabrina, so keep an eye on me, make sure I don't say anything wrong here.
Mhm.
It is absolutely work because I am exhausted at the end of a weekend.
Yes.
So most of the shows that I work, I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And by Monday, I'm just out. I'm just sleeping
Yeah.
like all day because the shows are from like 8 to 5. And I have talked that entire time. Like
Yeah.
I
Respect.
make sure I do my best to talk to every single person that comes into that booth and make sure that they are being served in a sense. I want to make sure that nobody is missing out on any information. So I take it I'm really serious about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Thorough.
but to that extent, I am having a blast the entire time. I love hearing people's stories of how they're traveling, of how they want to use their RV. Most of the people are RVers already. Um, so they're thinking about maybe changing up their setup.
Hmm.
Some of them are new to it, and that's fun for me also. But I like hearing other people's stories just as much as I like sharing my story. And there's a instant connection. Like there is
Yes.
no icebreaker. The icebreaker is that we all love being outdoors,
Oh shit.
whether that be off-roading, the RVing, the cooking out, whatever that might be, the traveling in general. So there is no there's no need for an icebreaker. Like you start an instant relationship with every single person that comes into the booth. It's super fun. Like it's crazy fun. Then we do happy hour afterwards. Like it's a great time.
Yeah. You expend your energy and you have a good time and obviously provide a lot of value from what it
Yeah.
sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. And I learn at every single show I do, I either learn more about the product or I learn more about people. So, I
Exactly.
mean, it couldn't be any better, honestly. Yeah, it really
Mm,
can't get any better than that. But it is work. It's still work. Sabrina's over here. Don't tell them that you would do it for free.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said,
All the time, and I'm like, "Kenny, free doesn't pay bills. Don't tell people you'll do things for
see,
free."
that's why you need Sabrina, right? She's keeping that
Right.
line. She wants the
I'm
money
like, "How
coming
can I
through.
mark free down in my budget? Come on."
Yeah, really. Speaking of work, right? So you and I'm going to give you a little moment here to kind of talk about it. But you wrote a children's book, right? You jokingly said, I don't know if I could write for Winnebago, but you wrote a book, right? A children's book. Can you kind of share where it came from, one, what it's about, and what made you decide to create that?
Yeah, so I've been writing for Winnebago now for 9 years. I know it's blows my mind to think back and be so vivid about the idea of being so nervous to write. But I've now
Mhm.
written almost about 200 articles, I think, for Winnebago,
Wow.
and I
Yeah.
wanted to take that experience that I have now and write something for myself. And I wanted to write something about our travels, but I thought people would actually be bored by that.
Yeah.
And maybe they would be, and maybe they wouldn't be. And we travel with our small dog Belle, and I she's getting older, and I want something. I know, I'll try to do this without crying. I wanted something more than just pictures and videos of her. I wanted her to kind of have a voice and her own story. And I thought, well, instead of writing a story about, Sabrina I's travels with Belle, why don't I make Belle the main focus?
Mm.
And Belle can tell the stories. I thought that was just kind of like a unique
Yeah,
twist
great.
in it that, the stories, our travels are coming from Belle. So the book, the story is all true. It's just being told by the perspective of a dog who doesn't really have a full grasp on everything that's going around on. And like once I did that, it kind of automatically switched from being like a book for adults to a book for children because
Mhm.
it is a dog telling the story. And I think it felt very natural to make that into a children's book. So she's got her first book out now. It's Belle's RV Adventures. There's going to be 10 books in all. And it's
Sweet.
going to be honestly all true stories. Like some people, some of our friends have read the first book and they were like, everything in this first book is true. I was like, everything is true in that book. The coyote encounters, her chasing away coyote, like everything in the book is true.
Yeah. Based on a true story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It's on true events. Some things may be not 100% true in the sense that there might be a story like the coyote story. That story in real life was just Belle and I. Sabrina wasn't there, but in the
Yeah.
book, Sabrina's there for the story. Like that's the only like fabrication. Maybe the order of events or like if we were both there or not there. But other than that, everything's true. That her working on second book right now, which is her experience of Route 66 from California to Chicago, and all those stories. Like even more whimsical stories. When we were in the like Pacific Northwest, she's going to write a book about looking for Bigfoot. We
Mm.
can't tell you if we found Bigfoot or not, but we were looking for Bigfoot. And when we were in like Roswell and Area 51, we were looking for aliens. So that's going to be a
Yes.
story too. So a little bit more whimsical too as it goes on.
Yes. And you have 10 books, you said, right? Like you're on book 2, but you're going to write 10?
10 is the goal. Yeah. 10, when I
Okay.
told Sabrina
Good.
that, Sabrina was like,
I
that's
was like, "What happened to measurable, attainable?" Like, all of those
Yes, right. Like,
goals.
hold
I
on, pump
said,
the
"He didn't even
brakes
say
here, buddy.
5. He said
Yeah.
10 from the beginning." It's like, wow, okay.
Well, good. Well, it's a good goal. And honestly,
Mhm.
the books, I'll put in the show notes for those who are listening, want to maybe grab it for their kids or
sure. Yeah.
themselves. I'll plug it
Appreciate
in.
it.
But I mean, that's just amazing to see the growth. As you were speaking earlier and just now, just my own input is like, and Sabrina, you could probably maybe attest to, is like very much stepping out of your comfort zone, right?
Mhm.
You started like, here's where I don't think I'm really good at. This is not my background. You did it, right? Here's the writing from Winnebago, and then now you're writing a book. So it's like you're very much moving the needle, forward and realizing, right, you have more in you than you expected or what you thought you could do with the book and everything else.
Yeah, we actually attended events called RVE summits, put on by like Keith and Alyssa Pageant back in the day, and that was a great pushing off spot for us because that
Mhm.
really taught us exactly what you said, pushing past your comfort zone and doing things outside of your comfort zone is really where we grow. It's really where we begin to, I would say, even excel in life, is like
Yep.
doing things that we're not comfortable doing. And it's difficult to do things that you're not
It is.
comfortable doing.
It is,
But
in my
man,
opinion.
when you succeed at it, it is no feeling better than it. It's really, I mean, that's where it's at right
I feel like
there.
that's what we do every day.
All the time.
We're always like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
next, what's next? What's next?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And it's good.
that feeling
Absolutely
is
right.
it's really good at the end of it.
And this very much was out of my comfort zone to write this book, because I didn't know, there's illustration involved. There's I have it
Yep.
copyrighted. You got to be able to sell it. The editing like all of it is, because full disclosure, like when I write something for Winnebago, I turn it into an editor. They publish it. Like I've
Right.
never self-published anything, so it was a really strong learning experience for
What's the
me.
process like completely
Yeah.
from start to
Yeah,
finish?
learning curve.
It was
Yeah.
it was definitely different for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Quick pause. Kenny wrote a children's book, and it is exactly what you expect from someone who chose freedom over the conventional path. If you have kids or know someone who does, go to the link in the show notes, grab a copy, and mention code LifeIsPod10. A book worth reading starts with a life worth living. Well, speaking of books and taking that time to do it right in the RV, I want to transition really to like what the road actually teaches both of you guys, right? So the most important here, right? You guys are together. So the relationship dynamics in a 28-foot RV, right? The community and the unexpected business or kindness, that you guys have experienced. So you've been living in your RV, right? For over, I think a couple of years, right? For
Yep. 5 years full time, and
Yep.
then like for an additional 4 years, 6 months at a time.
Okay. So yeah, so for a good amount of time, right? Close proximity, sharing the space constantly, like you said, and making every decision together, navigating everything that goes wrong on the road. I guess, what does that actually demand of you guys as a relationship, or what have you maybe seen or noticed in that experience?
I think a couple of things is that we learned that we work very well together, and that we know, through time anyway, we know when to back off.
I was literally about to use
I see Sabrina smiling. She wanted to say something.
Which could actually be more important than the working together part, is realizing when, okay, they need their space.
Yes. Yep. You know where to stop at.
Yeah.
When the laser daggers come out, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time to walk away. And the world is big and outdoors, and you can go walk and you can take some time outside of the RV. And so I think patience too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Patience and just realize
Flexibility.
flexibility, realizing that we each have different skills and we each bring something to the table and it's not the same thing. So then just recognizing that and working together on the things that we're good at and
Yep.
going from there. So I think that's definitely
Yeah, I don't think we could be more different about certain things. I mean, obviously we fall in tune for a lot of stuff, but things that we're not maybe agreeing on, but we're very, very different people.
very, very we are very different. We are very different.
And it's funny you say, because that was my next question, right? Because you guys are different. There's kind of a yin and yang that kind of goes with you guys, right? Sabrina, you mentioned obviously you're the planner. Kenny, you're kind of more visionary, more, I would say, outgoing, right? Energetic.
Mhm.
And Sabrina is more meticulous and kind of day to day. How do you guys navigate those differences day to day? Like, what have you learned about building a life with someone whose orientation is fundamentally, different from yours?
Yeah, I think you rein me in a lot,
I
right?
was going to say the opposite. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
I think so. So I have to definitely, some of the things I definitely have to rein him in and be like, okay, that sounds like a great thought and a great dream, but how do we actually do that? Like, what does that
Yes.
actually look like?
How do you execute that?
Or I know you want to say yes to everything, but we can't say yes to everything. What kind of things can we say yes to, and other things that maybe not right now, triaging and putting something on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is definitely a thing. For me, if he let me, I'd probably just hang out inside the RV. There's times where there's like people we're meeting or things we're doing, and he would say,
Yes.
"Hey, so and so just came to RV to say hi." I was like, "Could you tell them I'm busy?" And he's like, "No, you can come outside and say hi." So then I'm like, "Okay, I'll come outside and say hi."
Yeah.
And so I think balancing that and pulling each other out of our regular comfort zones. I like getting him to sit down and look at maybe like a spreadsheet or
Mhm.
accounts or stuff
Yeah,
like that
here
and
you
be like,
go.
no, I know you want leaf springs replaced, but let's look at how that would actually work. I know
Yeah,
nothing about leaf springs and what they do, though.
yeah,
So then he would have to explain the importance of them to me and why we would need them or not need them.
Everything is a conversation. There is no such thing as any small decisions with us. Like everything, neither one of us goes out and spends money on something without letting the other person know first.
yep,
All of our
that's true.
travels, where we're going. I mean, just everything is a conversation. Where we're going to sleep for the night is a conversation. Yeah, nothing is done without the other person's permission. Sounds like a terrible
Yeah,
word.
I know.
With
Don't
consult,
really like that
Yeah,
word
I don't really
permission,
think it's
but
permission. It's more communication just so we can be on the same page. Because if I'm answering yes to something, but I don't know he has something else planned or vice versa, that's a problem when you're in the space that's moving to where everybody's going.
yeah, that's gonna be a
So
little difficult.
it's a little difficult. Or even just even something so simple as meetings. Like if he was
Yeah,
doing this Zoom call right now or this video call right now, I couldn't be on another video call in 28 feet. So it
yeah, that's true.
definitely takes a lot of communication and just being on the same page or even our travel schedule, setting up, okay, I need to be at these hospitals this time, making my schedule around I know he has the shows certain times, blocking off those weekends because we have our dog and we don't want to be boarding her all the time
Mhm.
with that. And so then trying to navigate our schedules around each other. And I think it's taken a lot of communication. It takes a lot of
does.
communication. But we're super I would say I don't wanna use the word tolerant, that sounds rough, but we kind of let each other be who they are and then kinda come together on the things that we do together.
And luckily one of us is easygoing.
Luckily.
I won't tell you which one.
Yeah, we won't say who, yeah. We'll let the viewers take a wild guess.
I'm not even denying it, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you gotta have that, right? You gotta have that in any relationship,
Mhm.
that kind of pull and, release back and forth, the ebb and flow. And, it sounds like you guys have found that middle ground to compromise and still have your own individuality. I think without saying it, that's kinda what takes place,
Mhm.
and just make sure you guys are communicating, openly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to change her and make her more social to be out. I know how she feels about it, but it's
Yes.
okay to try a little bit just to see what
Wow.
happens.
Yeah.
Yes. It is, it's good, it's good. When also too, when you guys talk about your travel, and you guys have kind of briefly talked about this, but just the safety, obviously you guys are traveling all across different countries or different states, excuse me, in different towns. Some have complicated histories being, interracial, couple. What has been actually the actual experience on the road, whether that's, the community, the welcoming kind of feel or the safety? And is there anything that's maybe surprised you most about the people that you've, kind of received the welcoming from or the
Yeah.
environment?
Yeah, it's definitely more friendly than we would have expected. Like, honestly,
Mhm.
watching the news can sometimes be terrifying, and that
Mhm.
you think that there's only hateful, terrible experiences to be out in the world type of thing. And we've been to Mexico, Canada, and all throughout the United almost everywhere in the United States in our RV, and we have experienced nothing but people welcoming us, being friendly towards us. The not the opposite of what we were expecting, but we were not expecting the community of other
Yes.
campers to be so embracive, like just embrace everything about us and just be so curious, I guess, too, about us.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, very, very curious for
Yeah.
sure. And sometimes that curiosity does come off the wrong way.
It does.
Like
I
it
have to say it
definitely,
does.
you know,
Sometimes there's some comments oh, sorry to interrupt you.
no, you're fine.
Sometimes
Yeah.
there's some comments or some questions that you're just like,
Why would you think
"Why
that?
would you think that?" or "Why would you say that?" But usually we'll just, like, just take the conversation in a different direction and pivot it
Yes.
to
We'll
direction.
dismiss
Leave it
maybe the
alone.
ignorance at hand.
Yeah, just leave it alone just to not create issues. But everybody has been very welcoming, very kind. We have met so many friends on the road now that we are still friends with them now, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, that we still
Mhm.
write each other texts. If we're passing each other across the country, we're like, hey, we're going to be passing through Michigan, blah, 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 blah. Are you guys anywhere near? Or, and just meeting up with people who we've met along the way. And it's been amazing building those friendships and meeting people that even some people that you wouldn't have even thought you would have had anything in common
Hmm.
with, or would have been friends with, just
Yeah,
on
right.
surface level, and then later they turn out to be really amazing people, and you're still friends with them to this day,
Yeah.
and so that surprised me.
And
That surprised
I
me.
mean, all different age groups too. I mean, we have friends that are in their set. I'm 52. Sabrina's your
43.
40s. I can never remember. But we have friends as old as like in their 70s and 80s, and we have friends that are in their 20s. And that's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
you really wouldn't think of too much. Like, to the fact that like we're meeting up and we're camping together or we're going off roading together with this huge age group. It's really, that's something that I feel like didn't happen when we had a stationary life. Like we kind of fell
Mhm.
into our own age group and that's who we would hang out with compared to now. I mean, our 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 friend base is so
It's
expansive right
Broadened,
now.
yeah,
And it's beyond just like, I mean, if you work with people, those are the people you hang out with specifically, or any good friends that you've had for a while. And so
sure.
your circle tends to be limited to people who think like you and do the same things and have the same opinions. And this really opened us up to people who maybe don't believe the same things we do or
Mhm.
don't think the way we do, but we could all still come together, have fun, have a drink,
Yeah,
campfire, s'mores, and just tell stories and have a great time and still be friends despite other things, and so
yeah, difference. You can
that's
still
good.
coexist. Yeah, definitely coexist. And I was gonna even ask you, about the community, right, that you guys have kind of experienced and being around kind of shared experiences rather than just like, geography. Um, Maybe have a thought of like, what did that kind of teach you about what human beings actually need to feel connected? Because you talked about the experience has been great, right, overall, with strangers and other forming other relationships. So I don't know if there's maybe a thought of like, what that maybe have taught you guys about human beings of, needing actually connection, through shared experiences.
Yeah, I for me personally, I like making people laugh, but I also like um what's that? I thought you were going to say something.
No.
I like people to laugh. I like people to feel as if they are having a good time when they are around us. And I feel like if you can get people to laugh, that builds a
Mhm.
pretty quick connection and they associate you with like having a good time or just feeling good. And I like people to leave a conversation feeling better than when they entered the conversation
For
with
sure.
us. And I also think kindness is something that
Mhm.
everybody is looking for. I think everybody is looking for somebody that wants to recognize them or see them for who they are and wants to be able to tell tell their story or tell somebody something and actually know that somebody's listening to them and not just kind of blowing them off. I grew up in Philly and it is very common to walk down the streets of Philadelphia and not even make eye contact with somebody.
Mm,
There is like a very strong disconnection to people, I feel like, even though you are on top of each other, like literally on top of
population.
each other, the connections are far from just far in between. Whereas now, as I'm older, I really go out of my way to try to connect more with people, and I think people appreciate that.
I think so. I think so. For me, it's been more like you're like along the lines of listening and listening more to understand people and
Yep.
actually relate to them more so than just hearing them. Because I'm very good at just like, oh yeah, yeah, that sounds great, and moving on. We're not really, not really
Yeah.
connecting. And like, I I'm okay with not connecting, so it's like, it's fine. But this experience has taught me, like, it's okay to listen and it's okay to actually pay attention to people, and not that you're validating them, but actually being interested in what somebody else is telling you and what you can
Yeah.
learn from them, because everybody's coming from a different place, and none of us have the same background, none of us have the same history, and just learning from someone else has been interesting for me along the way, and I felt like I've spent more time listening to other people than I would normally just in passing, like, "Yeah, okay, that's great."
Right.
"What did you say
Yeah,
your name
yeah.
again?"
Yeah.
So, it's taught me how to listen better.
Yeah, that's important. I think you hit on the nail on the head is like, rather than just listening and having conversation, you're actually engaged in the conversation,
Mhm.
right? There's a, kind of back and forth, through the conversation rather than just maybe transactional or, "Hey, I'm doing good," and you kinda just move on with your day.
Mm,
You're actually, paying attention, like you said,
right.
paying attention.
Yeah, I think
So
it's easy to just talk to somebody or have somebody talk to you. But to have a conversation that actually goes back and forth does take a little bit more effort, I
Work.
would say.
Yeah, more work.
But it's worth it's worth it. It's worth the effort. You learn a lot.
No, I agree. Real talk. How many times have you seen exactly where you want to go, clearly, and then talked yourself out of it before you even started? How many times have you committed to something, felt that initial surge of energy, and then watched yourself quietly sabotage it 2 weeks later? And how many times have you asked yourself, why can't I just trust myself to do the thing I already know I'm capable of? I've been there, and I've worked with enough people to know this isn't a discipline problem. It's a coherence problem. Your nervous system is interpreting growth as threat. Your identity is still tied to old versions of yourself. Your beliefs are running on outdated code. And no amount of willpower fixes that. That's why I built the Coherence Performance Method, a 7-module program rooted in neuroscience, system thinking, and real-world application. You'll learn how to regulate your nervous system so change feels safe, not scary, how to build stable identity that doesn't collapse when things get hard, how to reprogram limiting beliefs with evidence, not just positive thinking, how to make decisions from internal authority instead of external validation. This isn't theory, it's practice. Self-awareness, self-trust, self-leadership, self-authorship. That's the arc. If you're tired of cycling back to the same patterns, if you're ready to finally trust yourself the way you've been wanting to, go to the show notes and join the program. The Coherence Performance Method. Let's do this work together. I want to kind of move forward as we get to the end of the podcast here, but really kind of what this life has built inside you guys, right? Kind of the more important thing that you guys have learned. Because you talked about some qualities that you guys have learned along the way. Maybe you didn't go into it, but you've learned, right? As you kind of already kind of talked about. But what does your internal experience of uncertainty and change feel like now compared to when you guys started or before you guys started?
I think we're tougher than we realized.
Yeah.
To be honest, like,
Yeah.
or at least, uh, yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think I think we're able to handle more now than we could then, and I feel like that slowly built up throughout the years. I remember us being very nervous to even like sleep at a gas station the very first night. Like we
Mhm.
barely slept. You're in an unknown area, you're in a gas station, you're sleeping. And when I say gas station, I mean like big travel center area,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and you're just like, oh, somebody don't knock on our door. The first time we go dry camping, like out in the middle of the desert or out in the middle of the woods, again, you don't sleep all that great that first night. These are things that, like, through time, though, you're like, this isn't that scary.
Yeah.
To you, though, it still is sometimes.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it is. But for me, I think the whole experience has made me more okay with change
Mhm.
and more okay with uncertainty because I'm not somebody in general in my core that is okay with uncertainty. So this has helped me be more open to that and be more open to things can change, things can look different. If one day we decide we're not going to live this way anymore, we're going to live a different way, that's okay and just take things as they come. So I think for me, it's helped me with that and being okay to just take things as they come, take new experiences, do new things, try things that you've never tried before, and being
Yeah.
okay with things changing and not looking the same one year to the next. And I feel like it's given me this bug where I don't like things staying the same as much as I did before. Now I get kind of
Mhm.
antsy when things are the same all the time, and I want
Yes.
something different and want to experience something different and see something different. So
Yep.
And
Great.
and this might not answer your question, Coy, but I feel like
No,
it's
you're doing
also
great.
it's also taught us to be self-driven,
Mhm.
being out on the road because like we don't have that rigid structure anymore. So you kind of have to like wake yourself up in the morning and make sure that you're getting everything done. Especially like work that we do with Winnebago. There's nobody really like over our shoulder saying, "Hey, we need this article by this time," or writing Bell's book. Like nobody's asking for the book. Like I had to be
Right.
very self-driven and to make that book. You got to be self-driven to get up, get the RV ready, hooked up, and ready to get back on the road and where you need to go because there's no like your normal 9 to 5 boss telling you, hey,
Yeah.
this is yeah.
Mhm.
So we've learned that we're pretty good self-motivators, I think,
Mhm.
also. And I think that has helped also.
Yeah. Like I said, great answers. I think to you, Kenny, the experience helps. That experience of doing something new, I don't know, maybe build some foundation, some confidence, if you will, of like, oh,
Hmm.
I can do this, right? And Sabrina, to your point, it's like trying something new, but also transitioning through, I would say safety, right? Even
Right.
myself, I could say personally, like, learning to know that just because something's different, it's not the way you thought it was. You can still transition through safety. It doesn't mean it's wrong or it's bad or you
Mhm.
failed. Like you're just learning to know, like, hey, I feel safe now. I can move through the situation and adapt to it if it does change. Right. I think that's a big lesson for myself. And I'm glad you said that because I'm like, it's so true. I think for many people that go through something new, it's like that's what you have to learn because, we want to protect ourselves. Our egos, like,
Yeah.
red flag, red flag. The sensors are going off. This is not normal. Retreat. And it's like that's a good way to calm yourself and say, hey, things are may not be the way they are, but they can evolve and you can be safe in that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely.
great answers. I wanted to move forward here because you guys have, as you told me offline, right? You visited national parks, small towns, historic sites, and communities across the country that most people only know from a distance. I guess what has that kind of firsthand, slow, immersive kind of learning done to you or done to how you understand this country and your place in it?
Yeah. I feel like we're still absolutely learning about the country. It is massive. It really,
Yes.
like 100 and, like I said, over 180,000 miles. We haven't even seen it all yet. And we are still learning everywhere we go. And you'd be surprised too, like when traveling, just how many obscure or little attractions there are along the
Mhm.
way. Like you just can't see it all. But we have noticed that we learn a little bit about each area that we do visit. It's a great way to travel in the sense that, you hop on a plane, you fly over everything and you arrive where you're at and you miss everything in between. You don't miss too much in between while traveling in the RV. And you get to see historical sites. The national
Mhm.
parks are absolutely beautiful. If anybody's listening, go to Zion National Park and go to Acadia National Park. One's in Utah, one's in Maine, and they are just. I mean, the parks are gorgeous and peaceful. I guess depending on the time of year that you go, sometimes they can get busy. Um, but there is so much out there to learn and see, and every trip, every day on the road, I feel is a new learning experience, and I think it helps us grow as people, not just to see these locations, but absolutely interact with each person. I mean,
Mhm.
I sometimes have interesting conversations at a gas station because it has
Right.
80 gallons of fuel up. I'm standing there for a long
Wow.
time.
You've
Yes.
met some interesting
I've
people.
met some interesting people even at the gas stations. And like I said, you're just constantly learning. But my place in the country, I think I'm gonna call back to a little bit of making those connections with people. I feel like my place,
Mhm.
not just not just here in the country, but just on Earth itself. I'm
Yes.
here for, I think, the experience at all, the good, the bad, everything. I think I'm here to just enjoy the life that has been given to me and to make these interactions with people. It's
Mhm.
really opened my eyes, I think, from being out on the road like this.
I love it. Great answer. Sabrina, I'll give you the floor if you
I'm
want
glad
to.
you said that so I don't sound so morbid.
Yeah.
But as we've traveled across the country, one thing we've come across a lot are like older cemeteries, like small
Yeah.
cemeteries from like 1800s. And it's interesting because we've looked at like these headstones and we're like, we don't know these people. Does anybody even in this area know these people, know their story, know anything about
Mhm.
them? Does anybody remember them? And it's made us we've had this conversation as we've walked through these places or by these places, and we're like, we definitely have to make our time here count because 150 years from now, nobody's even going to remember we were here. So we really are here to experience the things we're here to experience and to do the things we want to do because who else is it going to matter to as much as us?
That's
And so
so
it's
true.
really put things into perspective for us just seeing like some of the historical sites or these old cemeteries and things like that. Like you're here for a reason. Enjoy it. Enjoy the little things, the big things, because a lot of the ancillary stuff doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We don't need as much things as we think we do.
No,
So,
absolutely right. And we're here for a short period of time. Me and
yeah.
my wife, all the time. And to your point, Sabrina, it's like, look, we pass cemeteries all the time. It's like, this is only 100 years ago. Like, what
Yeah.
do people remember? Like you said, do people remember them? Like, what
Mhm.
did they do? what was the impact, what was the value, and like did they enjoy their life, right? You're
Right.
kind of yeah, like we have a short period of time, we might as well enjoy it. The good, the bad, the ugly, different. Like this is our life, so let's
Yeah.
make it the best we can and enjoy it. So no, great answers there. I want to ask my next question here. We talked, right? You guys are planning to go to Mexico more, right, or thoroughly more. Thinking about shipping maybe the RV to Europe, maybe, and imagining South America.
Mhm.
And it sounds like right, your guys' appetite keeps on expanding, right, rather than shrinking and just saying that you just really want to expand, which is awesome. What is like the internal engine underneath all of this? And not so much the destinations, but what keeps you guys like moving forward in this process?
I think, for the most part, it's really Sabrina. I would be very happy with just exploring the United States
Yeah,
because I feel like there's just so much to see. Sabrina's the one that's really opened up my vision or my eyes in the sense to explore outside of the country. And I'm glad that she has. Like, I would have never really thought of going to Mexico as like a destination just to see it. I don't know. Again, probably because of media and news.
right.
But
Yeah,
man, I have the best time every time we go to Mexico. I've only been to Mexico maybe 4 or 5 times. Um, 4 times in the RV, once in a flight. And we have now met and become friends with people in Mexico. We're actually in November, we're going to fly to Mexico City to hang out in Mexico City with some friends that we met last year that we were in Mexico. Like we
yeah.
only met them for one night,
Right.
Right. Best friends now.
Yep.
but now we're good friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to fly back in November and hang out with them for Sabrina's birthday.
Mhm.
I would say Sabrina is the one that pushes me outside that of my comfort zone. You know, I'm pretty comfortable everywhere in the United States. We always joke like when we're in the United States, I'm like visa. I'm accepted everywhere.
And I have American
Right.
Express.
Yeah, 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 there you go.
But you know, once I'm in Mexico, you know, all of a sudden I don't look like everybody else, and maybe I'm not accepted.
Right, right. Now the roles switch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
now the roles
But
switch.
you know, it has been a fantastic. We have met. I mean, no slander to the United States, but we have met the nicest people in
Yep,
Mexico. Like
yep,
over the top, go out of their way to make sure that you're comfortable, that you're having a good time, that you're laughing, and that you're safe. Like
yep.
unbelievable people in Mexico as far as their curiosity and their courtesy. Just incredible, incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I think the news can definitely, kinda paint a different image. To your point of hospitality, relationships, people, it's like that's not the I would even say the majority or minority. It's not the truth.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we've driven our RV all the way to the tip of Mexico and back up again, and have had nothing but a good experience. Now that being said, you still need to be safe, and just like traveling the
yeah.
United States, so you still got to be aware of your surroundings, trusting your gut. It's similar everywhere that in that sense.
For
Alright,
me,
so oh,
oh,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. For me, I think it's the desire to learn and to learn more because I love learning. Like I've always been a person I love learning, love reading, love seeing something new. And so being able to learn a new language, learn more about a culture, learn about new foods, traditions, I think that's what drives me to want to travel outside of
Yes.
this circle and
Yep.
see new things. For me, that's the main driver for me.
I love it. I was actually surprised. Kenny said Sabrina, and I was like, "Oh, for someone who likes and
I know.
safety,
Yeah.
expansion was kind of the polar opposite." But to your point, right, wanting to learn and
Mhm.
absorb new things is definitely a driver.
Yeah,
Uh,
and she does a lot of solo trips to Mexico. Uh,
mhm,
so that I think that's pretty impressive too, that you feel that safe to be able to do that on your own though. They're all flights, they're not in the RV, but still
Mhm.
to be there on your own.
Yeah, yeah, and I've had an amazing time every time I've gone. I went to El Salvador with friends too, and
hmm,
I have a great time. I have a great time.
yeah, good, nice. I love it. I love it. Well, we're wrapping up here, hitting the exit. I got a couple more questions for you guys, but obviously, Kenny, Sabrina, you guys have spent 2 years preparing, right, to get into this life that you're living now. You love conventional careers and a fixed home, built a Winnebago partnership, drove thousands of miles across the country, right, and more, and still going, and created work along the way, and you're still building, right? When you look at this full arc that you guys have created together, what do you know now about what it actually takes to build a life that is genuinely yours?
I think it takes a bit of planning, but then also being open to new experiences and just taking
Mhm.
experiences as they come. And I think that's what I've learned from this experience. And it makes me more open to the next thing and what's the next step.
Yep. 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 Kenny?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think we're always the more we learn, the more we want to learn, and the more we want to like expand. Like we're like this ever expanding universe in a sense that yeah, we just love it. We just love the lifestyle and love being out on the road. We didn't, looking back, like your question about looking back from those
Yes.
first steps to now, we had no idea that this would become such a big part of our life
Mhm.
and in such a positive way. We just didn't know the positive impact that something like RVing, that's considered recreational, would have such a strong persuasion in our life.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. Even in influence too. Like just,
Yes. Yeah.
holistic, mentally, physically, emotionally. There's been changes for the good from what it sounds like.
I would, like kind of double down on that too. The one regret that we have about RVing is that we didn't start it sooner. We just didn't know. I mean, that's
Yeah.
our only regret is that we didn't start it sooner.
Yeah. Well, hey, you're here now. So like you said, like Sabrina said, you enjoy it, right? Soak it up. My next question for you is really for the listener, right? Kind of your as input to them. But for someone who is listening right now, who feels maybe the pull to a different life, right? A different kind of life, more freedom, more movement, just more alignment between what they value and how they actually spend their days. But maybe haven't given themselves the permission to do so, right? To pursue that. What would you, I guess, what would you say to that person, or what do you say to that person if they're looking to do the same thing?
Yeah, I think you know what. I mean, obviously, word on until you go for it, right?
Uh-huh.
Because that it worked so well for us, and I guess that's easy for almost anybody to tell somebody, go ahead and try it. But the good news is, look, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to what you were doing before with
Exactly.
no and very little harm done.
Because that's the normal.
Right. You could
Exactly.
always go back to, yeah, if you want to put in quotes, the norm. You can go back to your 9 to 5. Most likely, as long as you left a position on good terms, you could even go right back to the same job that you had in the same town. Oh my goodness, this sounds terrible when I'm saying it, but
It's giving you some angst, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
but you can.
yeah.
It's worth the risk, I would say. I think it's worth pushing yourself out of that comfort zone, because even if it doesn't work long term, you're still gonna have a great experience and great growth. And if it doesn't work, Sabrina said earlier, it's not a failure. You know,
No.
it's absolutely not a failure if something doesn't work. You learned something from that experience, no matter what that is, and you pivot and you move into a different direction. That's all. I mean, that's how I feel. All life is just moving in different directions. Like you don't have to be
Mhm.
in anything that you don't want to be in, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I would say that you can hear what the naysayers say, but on that note, you have to listen to what you feel and aligning your life with how you want it to look. And every time you're doing something, you're thinking, is this drawing me closer to the life I want and the way I want it to look?
Mm.
Because other people will think different things for you, but they are not you. They're not your personality. They don't come from your background. They don't live your exact life. So they can say what they want, but they really don't know what's going on inside of you that is drawing you to something else. So you really need to trust yourself and your gut and give things a try. And it's okay to plan and it's okay to put a safety net in place, but give things a try that are bringing you in the ultimate direction that you want to go.
Yeah, and if you're a solo person, things are probably a little easier for you. But if you
Yep.
do have a partner, going back to that communication, talk with them, because they might feel the same way, and maybe they want to try something new and exciting also. And if they don't, that's probably okay too. We know people that
Yep.
have like a what would like a give and take. Maybe they don't want to be full timing out on the road, but they're willing to say, all right, well, we can do a few months at a time, maybe a weekend warrior type of
Yep.
stuff, extended weekends, 4 days at a time. They're most likely willing to work with you. And you never know, maybe that person ends up liking it more than the original person that came up with the idea. You don't know until you really try something.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I hope they were listening because those were phenomenal answers. Those were great. Yeah, I think you guys were spot on the advice for anyone who's listening that wants to tap into a life very similar to you guys or whatever field they want to get into. But that advice, applies across the board. So thank you for sharing that for myself and for those who are listening too.
Thanks so
So
much for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks. This is
yeah,
good. It's been a great conversation.
I got one more, actually maybe two questions, but definitely one more
Okay.
for you. So for those who are listening, where can people find you, right? Follow your journey. And Kenny, for you, read your book or your work and just connect everything that you're building on and off the road.
Yeah, so on social media, we're moving forward adventures, and that's on Instagram and YouTube, a little bit of TikTok. To be totally honest, we're not great about the social media stuff. We don't post like
More a hobby than
it's more of a hobby. I mean, we have friends that have created their entire life, but their business, it's their business. And
Yeah,
it's not
Brent.
our business to be on social media per se, but we do share a lot on those social media channels. And we try to be fun and informative and, goofy
Yeah.
ourselves.
with ourselves, I guess. So that's moving forward adventures. And like I said, that's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. For Belle's book, it's Belle's RB Adventures, and she also is on Instagram at Belle's RB Adventures. And you can buy the book on Amazon currently.
Perfect. I'll make sure to put those in the show notes for the guests. So we'll make sure we get all those links for those who want to go to, Belle's book and as well as your guys' social media handles. I
Awesome.
jokingly want to plug in. I think you do write great because I do read your LinkedIn posts. So when you said, hey, we're on social media and I like to be funny, you are. You do you try to make people laugh or just make it a good sense of humor to at your post. So I do want to plug that in because I was like, hey, I did read your LinkedIn.
Yeah. So if people want to read the articles that I write for Winnebago, that's you can find that right on Winnebago's website. It's or if you Google Winnebago Life and
Okay.
just if you type Kenny Phillips Winnebago Life, a bunch of my articles will just come right up from Google even.
Perfect. Yeah, like I said, we'll have all that there for them to plug into. I think it would be important just to
Thank
see
you
your
so
work.
much.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll drive the people there to your guys' site. My last question here, right? Because I ask all my guests, if you've been listening to the show, is right. The show's called Life Is, right? So I always ask my guests, if you could fill in the blank, right? Life is blank. What would either one of you guys or both of you guys kind of fill in on the back end there? If you got a word or a phrase.
I mean, for me, life is just fun. I feel very blessed. I feel very what would be the word for it? It's just it's more fun than I should be having, I would say.
Right. Right.
I would say life is a gift. It's a gift,
Hmm.
and it's there to enjoy.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. This has been a great journey on your guys' story, how you guys built this, right? The internal coherence that you guys put in place in the architecture to get there and what you guys are doing currently. So, just immense gratitude. I appreciate you guys' time on the show today.
We appreciate you. Thanks so much for inviting us.
It was a lot of
It's been
fun.
Yeah, no, it has. Absolutely. Great conversation, great personalities. And like I said, I'll make sure to make get all the show notes in there for the guest. And we'll see you on the other side of you guys' trip.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, hey, you guys take care.
You too.
You too, Coy.
Bye.
What Kenny and Sabrina showed us today is that freedom is not a feeling you chase. It is a structure you build deliberately, together, one decision at a time. They spent 2 years preparing before they ever turned a key. Kenny learned to inspect an RV engine. Sabrina restructured her career so it could travel with them. They ran the numbers, rented the trial unit, built the emergency fund, and then they went. Not because everything was perfect, because they had built enough internal ground to handle everything that was not. That is not impulsiveness. That is coherence. And the road they're on right now is what that looks like when you actually build it. I'll see you next episode. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Life Is podcast. If something in this conversation landed for you, a shift in perspective, a reminder, or something you needed to hear, don't let it stay there. Take it with you, put it to work. If you're ready to go deeper, I have tools built specifically for this journey, a self-discovery blueprint and a diagnostic designed to show you exactly where your foundation needs attention. Links are in the show notes. And if this episode added value, share it with someone who's building, leave a review, help us grow this community of intentional people doing real work. Remember, fulfillment isn't found, it's built. Life is art in motion, and you are the artist. Until next time, keep building.